Hi there. It's Aunt Val Reads to Me time. This is a video for all the little ones who like to read and who have been enjoying Aunt Val reading to them. So, I have something really exciting. I got to read to a bunch of little kids, and I got to read one book over and over again, and it was a really cool book. So cool that I actually ordered it online, and I now own it. And that would be Library Lion. See, it's a lion, and he's in the library. It's kind of a crazy story. I know that Mr. Oliver has this book, so I know he knows the story, but I don't think Wyatt and Emma have ever read it. So I'm a little excited to share it with you. So, it's kind of a long story, I'll warn you, but it's worth it. So we're gonna do this thing. So, Library Lion, here it goes. Here's the first picture. They're looking down the hall. One day, a lion came to the library. He walked right past the circulation desk and up into the stacks. Mr. Maccabee ran down the hall to the head librarian's office. "Miss Merriweather," he called. "No running," said Miss Merriweather, without looking up. "But there's a lion," said Mr. Maccabee, "in the library." "Is he breaking any rules?" Miss Merriweather asked. She was very particular about rule breaking. "Well, no," said Mr. Maccabee, "but no, not really." "Then leave him be." You can see them talking in the office. The lion wandered all around the library. He sniffed the card catalog. He rubbed his head against the new collection of books. And then he padded over to the story corner and went right to sleep. No one was sure what to do. There weren't any rules about lions in the library. Is that crazy? What would you do if you saw a lion in the library? Would you be scared? Or would you want to pet him? Soon, it was time for story hour. There weren't rules about lions at the story hour either. The story lady seemed a little nervous. Why would she be nervous? What can the lion do? Maybe eat her? But she read out the first book's title in a good, clear voice. The lion looked up. The story lady kept reading, and the lion stayed for the next story and the story after that. He waited for another story, but the children began to walk away. "Story hour is over," a little girl told him. "It's time to go." The lion looked at the children. He looked at the story lady. He looked at the closed books. Then he let out a roar, very loud. Roar! Can I hear your roar? Oh, that's a good roar. I bet you roar really well. Miss Merriweather came striding out of her office. "Who is making that noise?" she demanded. "It's the lion," said Mr. Maccabee. Miss Merriweather marched over to the lion. "If you cannot be quiet, you will have to leave," she said in a stern voice. "Those are the rules." The lion kept roaring. He sounded sad. The little girl tugged on Miss Merriweather's dress. "If he promises to be quiet, can he come back for story hour tomorrow?" she asked. The lion stopped roaring. He looked at Miss Merriweather. Miss Merriweather looked back. Then she said, yes, a nice, quiet lion would certainly be allowed to come back for story hour tomorrow. "Hooray!" said the children. He looks kind of embarrassed that he was so loud, doesn't he? The next day, the lion came back. "You're early," said Miss Merriweather. "Story hour is not until 3 o'clock." The lion did not budge. "Very well," said Miss Merriweather. "You might as well make yourself useful." She sent him off to dust the encyclopedia until it was time for story hour. What's he using to dust? That's his tail, right? Ew. The next day, the lion came early again. This time, Miss Merriweather asked him to lick all the envelopes for the overdue notices. Ew. Ugh. Have you ever licked an envelope? It doesn't taste very good. But he's got a really big tongue, so I bet he's very good at doing it. Soon, the lion began doing things without even being asked. He dusted the encyclopedias, he licked the envelopes, he let small children stand on his back to reach the books on high shelves, and then he curled up in the story corner to wait for the story hour to begin. You see the little kid reading as he's leaning against the lion? That's kind of crazy. At first, the people in the library were nervous about the lion, which is understandable, right? But soon they got used to having him around. In fact, he seemed very well suited for the library. His big feet were quiet on the library floor. He made a comfy backrest for the children at story hour. And he never roared in the library anymore. That's a well-behaved lion. What a helpful lion, people said. They patted his soft head as he walked by. How did we ever get along without him? Mr. Mackleby scowled when he heard that. They had always gotten along fine before. No lions were needed. Lions, he thought, could not understand the rules. They did not belong in the library. You see Mr. Mackleby up here? Does he seem to like the lion? No, he's not very nice about the lion. One day, after he had dusted all the encyclopedias and licked all the envelopes and helped all the small children, he padded down the hall to Miss Merriweather's office to see what else there was to do. There was still some time left before story hour. "Hello, Lion," said Miss Merriweather. "I know something you can do. You can bring a book back to the stacks for me. Let me just get it down from the shelf." Miss Merriweather stepped up onto the step stool. The book was just out of reach. Miss Merriweather stood on her toes. She stretched her fingers. "Almost there," she said. Then Miss Merriweather stretched a little too far. Uh-oh. Crash! Oh no, look at that. "Oh, ouch," said Miss Merriweather softly. She did not get up. "Mr. Mackleby," she called after a minute. "Mr. Mackleby!" But Mr. Mackleby was at the circulation desk and he couldn't hear her. "Lion," said Miss Merriweather, "please go and get Mr. Mackleby." The lion ran down the hall. "No running," Miss Merriweather called after him. That's silly. The lion put his paws up on the circulation desk and looked at Mr. Mackleby. "Go away, Lion," said Mr. Mackleby. "I am busy." The lion whined. He pointed his nose down the hall towards Miss Merriweather's office. Mr. Mackleby ignored him. Finally, the lion did the only thing that he could think to do. He looked Mr. Mackleby right in the eye. Then he opened his mouth very wide and he roared the loudest roar that he had ever roared in his life. Ready? Mr. Mackleby gasped. "You are not being quiet," he said to the lion. "You are breaking the rules." Mr. Mackleby walked down the hall as fast as he could. The lion did not follow him. He had broken the rules. He knew what that meant. He hung his head and he walked towards the doors. Mr. Mackleby did not notice. "Miss Merriweather," he called as he walked. "Miss Merriweather, the lion broke the rules! The lion broke the rules!" He burst into Miss Merriweather's office. She was not in her chair. "Miss Merriweather?" he asked. "Sometimes," said Miss Merriweather from the floor behind her desk, "there is a good reason to break the rules, even in the library. Now, please go call a doctor. I think I've broken my arm." "Oh, yikes." Mr. Mackleby ran to call a doctor. "No running," Miss Merriweather said after him. She really doesn't want people to run. The next day, things were back to normal, almost. Miss Merriweather's left arm was in a cast. The doctor told her not to work too hard. "I will have my lion to help me," Miss Merriweather thought, but the lion did not come to the library that morning. At 3 o'clock, Miss Merriweather walked over to the story corner. The story lady was just beginning a story for the children. The lion was not there. People in the library kept looking up from their books and their computer screens, hoping they would see a familiar furry face. But the lion did not come that day. The lion did not come the next day or the day after that. Who do you think he is? Maybe he's afraid he's in trouble, huh? One evening, Mr. Maccabee stopped by Miss Merriweather's office on his way out. "Can I do anything for you, Miss Merriweather, before I go?" he asked her. "No, thank you," said Miss Merriweather. She was looking out the window. Her voice was very quiet, even for the library. That's funny. Hold on, phone call. There we go. Mr. Maccabee frowned as he walked away. He thought there probably was something he could do for Miss Merriweather. After all, what do you think he can do? Mr. Maccabee left the library, but he did not go home. He walked into the neighborhood. He looked under cars. He looked behind bushes. He looked in backyards and trash cans and tree houses. What's he looking for? Finally, he circled back, all the way back to the library. There he is. And the lion was sitting outside, looking in through the glass doors. "Hello, Lion," said Mr. Maccabee. The lion did not turn around. "I thought you might like to know," said Mr. Maccabee, "that there's a new rule in the library. No roaring aloud unless you have a very good reason. Like, say, if you're trying to help a friend who's been hurt, for example." The lion's ears twitched. He turned around, but Mr. Maccabee was already walking away. The next day, Mr. Maccabee walked down to the hall to Miss Merriweather's office. "What is it, Mr. Maccabee?" asked Miss Merriweather in her new sad, quiet voice. "I thought you might like to know," said Mr. Maccabee, "that there's a lion in the library." Miss Merriweather jumped up from her chair and ran down the hall. Mr. Maccabee smiled. "No running," he called after her. Miss Merriweather didn't listen. Sometimes there is a good reason to break the rules, even in the library. Oh, yay! Everybody's glad he's back. And that's the end. That's one of my favorite books now. So my question to you is, what would you do if you saw a lion in the library? You should make a video and tell me what you would do. I don't know what I would do. I think if he was real friendly and he was listening to stories, I'd probably pet him. But if he looked like he was hungry and he was chasing me, I'd probably run away. Alright, I heard you guys. Have fun, and I hope you like my story. Hey, bye.